Is it true that Spain is a country of bald people?
Spain is the #1 country for bald people.
People care for their hair well?
People think that taking care of their hair means using good products, and that's a myth.
What's the worst thing you've seen on social media in terms of hair mistreatment?
I'd say it's more dangerous to use than just mistreatment.
Today I welcome one of Spain's top voices in hair and skincare, Helena Rodero, pharmacist, top of her class, outstanding industry auditor, and heart of a pharmacy for 14 years.
Hey, my hair isn't growing, but where exactly? Here or here?
Basic guidelines for proper hair washing.
You get in the shower, wash as I mentioned, rinse, apply again, and rinse again. It leaves your hair looking amazing.
After taking social media by storm with almost 2 million followers and leading the hair skinification movement, she is a teacher, a great communicator, and the author of Everything About Your Hair and Skin.
Let's lay all the cards on the table and say what's important and what's not important or much less important.
Want your hair and skin to look better than ever? Then listen to Helena Rodero. Helena, welcome to Better Than Yesterday. How are you?
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here on your podcast.
We're going to talk about your topic, skin and hair, a topic that, as I was saying before, is really important for many people. I think there's a huge demand, especially on social media, about how to improve skin and hair as much as possible. So I'm going to start with a question just to break the ice a little. Is Spain known for having many bald people? Why is baldness common there?
Why, I don't know. I can share a theory I have, but yes, Spain is the #1 country for bald people.
#1, yes.
First is #1, then the Italians. Naturally, you start comparing and realize we're actually very similar populations. I have a theory that maybe, I don't know. I've started studying nutrition and I'm finishing my degree. Yes, even at this age and after chickenpox, because I've always loved nutrition. And it's also a way to give more global, more personalized advice. Because after all, nutrition is so important and we often underestimate it. Well, I have the theory that comparing populations here in Spain, what we have a lot of are those dinners with ultra-processed cold cuts. Yes, here we eat a lot of cold cuts, more than I think in any other country like ours. In the end, diet, skin, and hair are very closely related. In fact, it's known there are studies that link the Mediterranean diet, not the diet we eat in Spain, but the Mediterranean one, with the improvement of androgenetic alopecia, which is the most important hair loss condition, especially in men. So if we look at it from that perspective, that aspect, I think that here we eat worse than in Italy, but mainly because we are very used to and see it as normal to eat cold cuts. We believe that Serrano ham or Iberian ham is a good food for our health as part of a balanced diet. It can be included, but not for dinner every day.
And not daily. Also in snacks and children's breakfasts, it's very common. I think with ham, what happens is that we confuse culture and roots with being healthy, like with wine, and those are two different things, right? It's a delicious food we all love, but that doesn't mean we should eat it every day. Should we start with hair first? Yes, hair and then skin. People care for their skin since everything is visible on social media, right?
What happens is that people think that taking care of their hair means using good products, and that's a myth. To take care of your hair, you don't need the best products in the world or a complicated routine. On the contrary, what you really need to learn is how to truly take care of your hair with the right techniques. That means washing it as often as necessary. Now, if you want, we can talk about this. Washing only the scalp because the ends don't need to be washed. Conditioner should be used regularly. It's the cosmetic product par excellence for preventing hair problems. And we forget about conditioner or don't use it because we think it makes our hair greasy, or we use a hair mask instead of conditioner. Then, we don't dry our hair with a hairdryer because we think it will damage it, but it can actually help a lot. We leave our hair damp for hours and hours, and this is really bad for the scalp. And if you tend to have dandruff or seborrheic dermatitis, it can make your situation worse. In short, it's about knowing the techniques and what makes our hair better or worse. Then it's easier to choose the right product. You don't need to have a complicated routine, like I said.
What's the worst thing you've seen on social media when it comes to hair damage?
Well, more than just damage, I would say something dangerous, which is using lemon to lighten your hair.
Lemon.
Yes, lemon. Did you know that on the skin it can cause phytophotodermatitis, which is a toxic reaction from the coumarins found in certain plants, like lemon? It's the typical allergic reaction that waiters get when they make margaritas in the summer. They get blisters on their hands, so it's kind of funny. I use lemon on myself to make blonde highlights since its acid lightens and damages hair. This can get on your scalp or run down your face. Since it's summer, because you're at the beach, it can cause a serious reaction. And it's no joke, okay? It can really scare you.
I didn't know that. Regarding hair washing, could you tell us what the basic guidelines are for washing our hair properly for both women and men?
I think that in the case of men, you wash your hair every day, generally, so that's not a problem for you. What about women? We try to go longer between washes because it's a lot of work to do our hair and we feel lazier about it. And that's where the problem is, because there's no issue with washing every day, but there is a problem with going too long between washes. The scalp is skin. How many times a day do you wash your face? A couple of times, right? At the very least, you wash your scalp. Once, when the scalp retains more moisture, it's more pleasant for the microbiota. That is, if there's an imbalance, let's say, it can get worse more easily. We tend not to wash it, and normally we usually do. Then we think that the scalp is dry because it flakes, and the flaking is simply an overgrowth of the fungus Malassezia furfur, but of course you see the flaking and think you have a dry scalp, so you wash it even less and use sulfate-free shampoos. And this just makes the situation worse and worse. We should wash as often as our scalp needs. If you have an oily scalp, which is very common here in Spain, we have a lot of oily skin, although there is also dry skin, but oily skin is quite common. You should wash daily, and if you wash in the morning but go to the gym in the afternoon, should you wash again? But you don't see it as obvious, you don't see it as logical, but this isn't how it's done. Look, there's also a minimum number of times per week that I recommend. When someone has a really dry scalp, I mean truly dry, not flaking caused by a fungus, but really dry, then at least twice a week. It's important to wash the scalp, even if you don't want to wash your hair. As mentioned, the first reason is fixing it takes a lot of time, and the second is it damages my hair. The thing is, of course, you're washing your hair, but what you really need to wash is your scalp and the roots. So those images in television commercials that show us we have to lather up a whole bunch of hair, all full of foam, and then you keep rubbing your hair. But in the end, hair is a biological tissue. Well, it's more of a material than a tissue. It's a material, just like any good material. If it gets damaged, it doesn't recover, of course. So if you rub it, the cuticle starts to open up and peel away. And that's when problems start to appear like split ends, frizz, hair breakage, or my hair isn't growing, which is a very common issue. Hey, my hair isn't growing. Where exactly? Is it not growing from here or here? It usually grows from here, but if there's no length, it's breaking from here. That's due to mistreatment, not products. It's the way the hair is treated.
We should leave our hair alone more and wash it more often.
The scalp is very easy. It's just about putting the shampoo on your fingertips with a little bit of water and using your fingertips. Gently rub your entire scalp, including underneath and the back, spreading it out. I usually grab my hair like this and focus on the back. I lift my hair to avoid rubbing it and just massage my neck. It's really about washing only what needs to be washed, okay? And with seborrheic dermatitis, if I don't make sure to wash my scalp thoroughly, it's never going to be okay.
Okay, so washing your hair frequently or washing it daily, doesn't that make your hair thinner? No, that's actually a very common myth. It's the opposite.
On the contrary, because it removes the oil that stays trapped in the follicle if you don't clean it. All microorganisms love that, especially Malassezia furfur, and when it metabolizes it, it creates pro-inflammatory substances. I don't like discussing inflammation since it now seems everything causes it. What I mean is that the environment created on the scalp isn't very suitable for the hair follicle. It prevents, that oxidation that's there prevents the hair follicle from being healthy. If we wash and remove that breakdown of fats and leave the scalp clean, without any problems, then it will grow in better conditions. Is there any study that shows that even using active ingredients like pyroxene or amine or others, there are some that can't be used in Europe anymore? Or ketoconazole. But the thing is that ketoconazole is a medication, okay? You already know that perfectly well.
Which requires a prescription.
And what about gels with ketoconazole? Using that with a shampoo is terrible because that's a gel and it cleans too much. This would actually be harmful. Many shampoos with pyroxene or amine are classic anti-dandruff shampoos. And those active ingredients, when you use them in shampoo and you have a hair loss problem, they improve follicle growth and can even make the hair thicker. You need to use them at least 3 times a week. So here we're seeing that frequently cleaning the scalp and using anti-dandruff active ingredients can improve both flaking problems and hair loss issues. I don't want to say this is a cure-all, but it has been shown to greatly benefit the health of the hair follicle.
All right. Speaking of shampoos, do anti-hair loss shampoos actually work then? And what ingredients make them work or not work?
It's a bit related to what we were talking about. Anti-hair loss shampoos use various active ingredients like rosemary oil or caffeine. To my knowledge, pyroxenolamine is only found in anti-dandruff shampoos, not anti-hair loss ones. Shampoo is a cosmetic that only contacts the scalp for a few minutes, so the active ingredient isn't fully absorbed. Although it's a highly vascularized area with more opportunity than other skin parts, it still lacks that capability. I mean, it can be a booster for the effect of the anti-hair loss treatment, a supplement to improve results, but it can never be used as the only treatment because you won't get any results. Using a regular shampoo that cleans well is better than an anti-hair loss shampoo. You never know what's in those.
Or with minoxidil, I guess.
But minoxidil isn't formulated in shampoos. Minoxidil comes in lotions.
It's a lotion. Okay. We've said that washing frequently is good. You have to dry after washing. Is there any common mistake you see when it comes to drying? I think straighter and curlier hair differ.
Actually, we're a little afraid of the hairdryer because we've always been told that heat is harmful to hair health, and that's true. Excessive heat, those high temperatures, do break and really damage hair. They break the keratin, so it's the same problem as before, right? Hair with more pronounced frizz that breaks and just opens up like a scouring pad, basically keratin.
To clarify, it's the main component of hair, not the structural protein.
Exactly. Protein forms everything. Well, we also have keratin cells in the epidermis of our skin. It's in a different form, but let's say it's a type of keratin that forms and stays there. All the damage accumulates since it doesn't regenerate at all, so it's basically like using a flat iron. All devices that come into direct contact with hair at high temperatures are harmful. Damage accumulates on top of more damage. But when used properly, the hairdryer can be our best friend because it removes moisture more quickly. Hair is weaker when it's wet, so if your hair stays damp all day, you keep touching it and rubbing it, and that makes it break more easily. Because there are several types of bonds in the hair's keratin, and some of them break with water, which are the most common. If your hair was already fragile from getting highlights which break some bonds, strong, but when it gets wet, it's weaker. And if you touch it while it's wet, you can break it too. Another problem is if you sleep with wet hair, it won't dry during the night. Also, that friction between your wet hair and the pillow breaks your hair. And even if we don't care much about beauty, we still want to have a healthy scalp. Keeping your hair wet all night almost guarantees you'll get fungus. In fact, a friend of my sister told me that she eventually realized that the whole curly method thing, they go to bed with wet hair and a cap so their curls stay in place. It looks very nice in the morning, but of course sleeping with wet hair all night. She started to get some white spots around here. You know, it's hard to control later with products and you end up relapsing because that infection doesn't go away.
The skin fungus remains there.
It stays there. Well, in the end, she realized it was because she followed those recommendations. Curly, of keeping her hair wet all night.
And mistakes when drying with a hairdryer, yes.
Yes, because we hold the hairdryer too close. To use it properly, we shouldn't bring it too close or press it against the hair. If we can keep it 6 inches away, but you can dry it like this towards the ends. If you have straight hair, you dry it towards the ends. Okay, to close the cuticle, because the cuticles are like shingles that are facing downward. So you flatten them. By going in that direction, you flatten the cuticle and close it downward. Drying it roughly can cause damage. Always dry downward, starting with the innermost layers. Because if you want to dry all your hair starting from the outside, you're applying all the heat to the outside, which is the part that's most damaged, always, because it's exposed to the sun and we touch it more. So start drying it from underneath, okay? And from underneath, then move on to the outer layers. I do something that's really easy, which is drying my hair upside down, so I start with the underneath area. When the underneath area is dry, then I stand up straight and dry the top.
I mean, like this?
Yeah, just don't stand this way.
Yeah, of course.
But it's totally upside down, and I dry my head upside down, all the inside part. And then I stand like this and finish drying it. It's much faster and much safer. And then high speed if you have straight hair, because the hair dries. For 2 reasons. Because of the air speed and because of the medium temperature. But if the speed is high, the moisture will be removed more easily, okay? And if you have curly hair, it's better to dry it with a diffuser, devices that you attach to the same hairdryer, which is like a kind of platform with little spikes. Just dry your hair at medium temperature and speed to avoid frizz, and be patient. Curly hair is more complicated, okay, to make it look good because it gets frizzy more easily. But if you keep moving the diffuser like this all over your hair, in the end what you get is even more frizz, because you're rubbing it. Rubbing your hair creates static electricity and lifts the cuticle.
Okay. Did you say that even good heat can damage hair? I understand that using a flat iron too often can't be very good, right? Or not?
No, because they were already at very high temperatures, at least 180 degrees. Some people dry their hair at 220 or higher, depending on hair thickness or if they're in a hurry. No, it's like everything else. What mistakes are usually made that keep them from drying at 100%? So if it's a little damp, the moisture that's been trapped inside the hair boils. So it's like it explodes. Inside, you can see what's called bubble hair, which are little bubbles inside the water when it has boiled and exploded. Let's say the keratin has been damaged from the inside. Okay, so does the hair have to be 100% dry?
A flat iron, what temperature? Sorry?
Adjustable ones are 180 standard are 220-230. That's still a lot, even later on. Another thing people do incorrectly is running the flat iron over the same strand 8 times quickly. That damages it much more than if we go over it once slowly. It seems like going slowly would damage it more. Right? Because keratin gets damaged by that intensive back and forth of temperature. If you only increase the temperature once, the keratin doesn't get damaged as much. So one pass with heat protectant on a strand that's not too thick or too thin. Make sure it's well detangled beforehand, because of course you're applying heat. If it's not well detangled, the strands will break more easily and more quickly.
You mentioned earlier that conditioner is a really important element here. What exactly is its role in the hair?
Conditioner is the ultimate cosmetic product for preventing hair damage. Hair accumulates damage over time, which can lead to hair loss. If you manage to use a conditioner that prevents damage, that damage will accumulate less easily. It removes frizz, eliminates static electricity, leaves our hair soft and manageable, and gives it shine. It also smooths the cuticle a bit and makes the hair look shinier and prettier. So this also works quickly in just 1 or 2 minutes. If you don't use conditioner every time you wash your hair, you're missing the opportunity to prevent damage.
Okay, of course, and applying it is very simple. Not just 1 or 2 minutes. You leave it there to work, and that's it.
The theory is to apply it from the mid-lengths to the ends, never on the scalp, which doesn't need more conditioning, especially for people who have, well, that flaking, seborrheic dermatitis, oily scalp. It's not made for the skin, it's made for the hair. That's it. Just 1 or 2 minutes, then rinse well, okay? There's a technique that's very interesting for people who have damaged hair, who have highlights, bleached hair, or have straightened it and are already noticing the negative effects of straightening. It's to use conditioner before washing. It's like a kind of sandwich, conditioner, shampoo, conditioner. So with dry hair, I apply it beforehand, work it in a little, and I can even take the opportunity to detangle it, okay? I wait 1 or 2 minutes for the conditioner to work. You can wait longer if you want. Then get in the shower, wash by scrubbing only the scalp, rinse, apply conditioner again, and rinse. It makes your hair look amazing. Just with this pre-wash technique, scrubbing only the scalp and using only conditioner and shampoo. I mean, overnight it looks like you have completely different hair. Wow.
You just gave another tip. Yes.
Yes.
Hope the audience takes advantage. Thanks. There's a myth, like so many recent ones, that minoxidil ages your face. I don't know if you've heard anything about that.
Well, I've seen it and I had no idea. I was totally, I didn't know where it came from. Does it make sense to say that? The thing is, these are such new things that making a statement like that or saying it as a fact, this is like when people can't read science, right? You don't know how true this is, especially without evidence. No one has proven that if you use minoxidil, you'll get wrinkles. But it has been proven that using topical minoxidil, if it drips down here, you'll grow hair where you shouldn't. That has been proven, of course. But in the end, we have to remember that this, it could be important. Why is the follicle supported by the collagen matrix of the scalp? That matrix has to be strong. It has to provide support to that follicle. I mean, it wouldn't be good for us in that regard if collagen wasn't synthesized properly. Another question is whether minoxidil can reach the dermal matrix. I'm unsure if it can get to the follicle, let alone the dermis. It's a cosmetic. Well, it's not a cosmetic, it's a medication, but it's not made to reach the dermis. It's made to stay in the follicle, to penetrate the follicle. And then number 3 is that maybe that could even be good for us. But this is still in its early stages. Well, in the sense that with androgenetic alopecia, there comes a point when once the follicle scars, you can't recover it anymore. Scarring means there's more collagen, and this prevents the follicle from being healthy and in good condition. Once the follicle scars and gets blocked, it can't be recovered anymore. So maybe inhibiting collagen at that moment, when you have androgenetic alopecia, could be beneficial. Both statements are partly true and partly false, as there isn't enough scientific evidence yet. And I think that with all the minoxidil users out there, we would have noticed if this was harmful to the skin in terms of wrinkles. Could minoxidil itself have an enhancing effect through another mechanism of action that hasn't been studied yet? No? Or is that why minoxidil actually works well? Is the minoxidil lotion a bit annoying? Look, I have a story to tell. Because for us, when I had the pharmacy, we used to prepare minoxidil lotion ourselves. We didn't sell the commercial version of the medication. We would prepare either the lotion or the foam. We made it as a foam since it has fewer side effects, is less messy, and doesn't drip as much. But I already knew from the moment they walked through the door who was going to ask me for it or who was about to ask me for it. Minoxidil, even if I didn't know them or they weren't bold, because you can smell it. Minoxidil has a distinctive smell? Yes. Minoxidil has a characteristic odor, so you know who's using minoxidil.
Oh, I didn't know. Does it smell bad or just different?
Well, it's distinctive. It's not bad or good, but I could notice it too. I guess I have a sensitive nose, right? But they walked into the pharmacy and I thought, he's definitely here for minoxidil. And just like that...
Pharmacist's trick.
Yes.
I bet you have plenty of other tricks like that with different things. We'll talk about collagen supplements for skin later, but what about for hair? Is there any study that shows that supplemented collagen can do anything for hair?
I don't think there's such evidence, enough evidence to say so. But what I mentioned before is true. A strong collagen in the dermis of the scalp provides support to the follicle and helps it work better. So, theoretically, it would be good, but there aren't any direct and clear scientific proofs. And if there's 1 or 2 studies, for me, that's not enough.
Does it work on skin? Yes, we'll discuss that later. Can stress directly cause baldness or only accelerate a genetic process?
Does it make you go bald? It's due to a different mechanism than androgenetic alopecia. It may be an immune issue that could be reversible, or it might not be. But in general, stress speeds up hair loss. If you have androgenetic alopecia, it makes the situation worse, and if you don't, you'll have telogen effluvium, which is reversible. The good thing is that telogen effluvium is very noticeable. especially for women, since men either don't experience it or just don't notice. Yes?
We will, man. We'll have some stress too.
Yes, but I mean that when a short hair falls out, it's not the same. Women, just imagine losing 200 hairs a day. At my length, it's really obvious. Hair falls out everywhere, and the house is full of it. Yes, but is it reversible? So? Well, the only thing that would be a little more important in making a process worse is that look, I think that androgenetic alopecia, even if it's being treated in a person, if there's a stressful moment, the stress will make it worse, for sure, even if it's being treated, because it's a different mechanism of action.
It's interesting because for many men and women, alopecia itself is actually the source of stress. I mean, the fact that my hair is falling out stresses me out, and that speeds up my hair loss. It's a vicious cycle, like all of this.
It's like with insomnia, thinking I'm not going to sleep tonight, and then you definitely won't sleep because you're already experiencing anticipatory insomnia. You're just anticipating it, of course.
Hey, what about natural oils? Do they help your hair or make it worse?
I see a lot of videos about oils applied to the scalp, which is what worries me the most, because you can put anything on your hair. It won't do anything to regenerate it, but it will soften it, it will protect it. But on the scalp, you have to remember that oils are not suitable. We've said that the scalp shouldn't be oily because this prevents it from being healthy, so people apply oil to it. What do I know about coconut oil on the scalp? Coconut oil is very comedogenic on the scalp. Imagine what a mess that must cause, but there are people who do it. And then there are essential oils like rosemary, which have been used traditionally. Well, when there was nothing else, fine. There was nothing else. The only thing available was rosemary. So fine, use it if you want. But now, with all the things we have, going back to the past is like taking a step backwards. I mean, in many ways, I don't know if you've noticed, we're going backwards in things that seemed like they were over and done with.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the constant search for novelty, for views, or for attention or what, but in many things, yes, in many topics, yes.
Look, I see it. If, for example, you buy rosemary essential oil and boost the shampoo you have or the lotion you have with that product, on the go, you put a drop on the product and apply it to your scalp. That would be the only good thing about it, but that's it. That's all. And vegetable oils for the scalp? I mean, not at all unless you have an extremely dry scalp, which we would have to see. Let's see if that's really true. I'm not so sure about that. Maybe some jojoba oil, which is more sebum regulating, and actually it's more of a wax, not an oil, okay?
Why does dandruff occur, and how do anti-dandruff shampoos help control it, if they even work?
Well, neither dandruff nor seborrheic dermatitis actually get cured because you keep having flare-ups. As time goes by, with the cold, with stress, and we are all exposed to those changes. You can't make it worse by not washing or by not using specific products. Normally, you have a genetic tendency. You have a genetic tendency to, for example, in my case, seborrheic dermatitis. If I don't use the products, in my case, I use pyroxytonolamine, the shampoo that I formulated, which contains pyroxytonolamine. Without it, I'd always have scabs on my scalp.
Well, the first thing would be to define what dandruff really is. Yes.
Dandruff is a faster shedding of the epidermis, okay? I mean, instead of the epidermis, which is the outer layer of the skin, renewing itself, which we also have on the scalp, about every 28 days, this process accelerates, causing the outer layer to flake off as small pieces of skin, okay? And this is like a reaction that the skin has to that unwanted effect of the growth of the Malassezia furfur fungus. What the fungus eats and then excretes causes inflammation, it inflames the skin, and the skin reacts by shedding those little pieces.
And that's dandruff.
That's dandruff. If it's oily, it's seborrheic dermatitis, a type of dandruff with yellowish, oily flakes that stick to the scalp.
Interesting, right? What about scabs, which are also a concern? Why do they appear? And above all, is there anything that can be done about gray hair?
You don't have gray hair? No.
I don't. Well, I've seen a few.
I have a bunch already.
Why does gray hair appear? Where does that come from?
Gray hair happens because melanocytes in the follicle, similar to those in the skin, lose pigment. So you might wonder, why don't I have gray hair on my skin? I don't really understand. The older you get, the less ability you have to synthesize melanin, okay? The older you get, the less ability you have to synthesize melanin in the follicle. What happens? Does the follicle make hair? If that follicle no longer has melanin, does the hair come out without melanin, without color? It's transparent. Actually, gray hairs aren't white, they're transparent.
It's an effect of the light, right?
Yes, it's an effect of the light. Melanin itself is the antioxidant protection of our hair, so that white hair is going to be more exposed to damage because it doesn't have antioxidants. Do they appear, and why? You have a genetic age similar to your parents. I'm sure your parents also had gray hair, perhaps later than average. I don't know, because I see you without any gray hair, and so the first thing is that I'm jealous. Is the age when gray hair appears genetically determined? That age can come earlier due to external factors like stress,
For example,
illness, stress, or nutritional deficiencies, for example, a copper deficiency. Melanin is synthesized by an enzyme that works with copper. So if you're not eating foods with that micronutrient, for example, copper is in, well, let's see, it's in mollusks, shellfish, all of that, yes.
animal origin.
Yes, it's of animal origin, so that can come earlier. Also due to some illness, the same, you can also delay it a bit. If you're someone who has a healthy lifestyle, maybe you can delay it a little. The most interesting part is they're reversible.
Nobody knows that, huh?
No, but they are reversible if that age has advanced them. Imagine you are a person with a lot of stress and gray hair has appeared maybe 5 years earlier and you don't even know it. But by looking at your parents, you can get an idea of what you were genetically predisposed to, right? Yes. If you go back to having a healthy lifestyle and eating properly, that age, let's say, resets and reverses for you.
You change jobs, the usual stuff, yeah.
And that lock of hair that appeared, well, it goes away. And it was thought that gray hair wasn't reversible, but it's been proven that it actually is.
But the actual onset is largely determined by genetics.
That's not correct.
Okay, fine. Micronutrients for hair. What does hair need in terms of micronutrients? What micronutrients does hair need besides energy and a healthy diet to grow healthy and strong?
Protein is often overlooked, even though hair and keratin are both sulfur-rich proteins. Because the bonds, especially if we want to have strong hair, are the disulfide bonds, which are what give hair more strength. Like I mentioned before, those bonds are destroyed by bleaching and so on, so sulfur-rich protein basically comes from turkey, chicken, and eggs. Okay, then there are certain micronutrients that are super essential, like iron, zinc, B vitamins, and magnesium. All cellular processes require magnesium and vitamin D, which is crucial. You mentioned almost everything is good. Ultimately, the hair follicle is a constant hair-making machine. It's making hair all the time, so micronutrients have to be constantly present. And copper, if we want it to have melanin, otherwise it won't.
And do you think the current population... Do people generally get enough of those micronutrients from a typical diet? I'm not talking about an ideal one. Nowadays, do you think we're providing our hair with enough micronutrients for it to look nice, healthy, and aesthetic?
I think it wouldn't be hard to provide them. I think it's not difficult. But did you know that the micronutrient with the biggest deficiency worldwide is actually iron? In fact, when you go to the doctor or the dermatologist and complain about hair loss, the first thing they do is run some blood tests to check your iron and zinc levels, which also
Is much more common in women.
Yes. So, well, in theory, there shouldn't be any issues with a diet, that's too strict. With a proper diet, there shouldn't be a problem. The problem is people eat poorly.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? That's the paradoxical reason why supplements exist. They shouldn't be necessary, but the truth is that in today's world, they are. It's because of poor eating habits and mistakes we make. So, from this premise, you developed with Full Gas, which we're both ambassadors for, right? Yeah, great. A supplement for hair, right? We have it here. It's Helena Rodero's Hair HR, right? So, your personal brand, how could it be any different? So, what I want, Helena, is, well, I'm going to give it to you. You're going to explain what kind of person would really benefit from the supplement and what ingredients it has and why it has them, right? If you want, yes.
The main thing is that it's a dietary supplement that is, in principle, compatible with treatment for androgenetic alopecia, that they're not taking another dietary supplement. If they're taking another dietary supplement, it would have to be evaluated.
Finasteride, aminosidil.
The prescribed medications are fine. What's wrong with him? The most important nutritional deficiencies. As we've discussed, he has iron and zinc. I didn't want to include magnesium, omega-3, or vitamin D, because in the end, if they have a deficiency, they're already taking it. And I don't want to duplicate, which is what often happens with dietary supplements. So I wanted to get straight to the point. I said, let's see what's important, especially adding iron, adding zinc, and then I included 2 of the sulfur-containing amino acids, which are essential for strengthening hair. I added a hydrolyzed keratin, similar to hydrolyzed collagens. There's a patented hydrolyzed keratin, but I don't care about the patent. It's just to show this specific type exists, not just any hydrolyzed keratin. A specific one, which has a study that was published in a scientific journal and has been proven. Not only does it work on hair loss, but it also makes the hair look better, shinier, and stronger. That's important. You don't want your hair to fall out, but you also want new hair to look good, right? So, is this what it contains? It also has a natural inhibitor of 5-alpha reductase, which is the enzyme responsible for androgenetic alopecia. So if you don't have androgenetic alopecia, can you still take it? Well, yes, because probably if you're like me and getting closer to menopause, that testosterone is becoming more important. It has more weight. Are your follicles already thinning? Even if you aren't aware, this will work at that level.
Okay. What's the inhibitor? Saw palmetto? Yes or no?
Which is the one with the most scientific evidence?
There are several, you know? Then there's another one too.
African pigum, saw palmetto. Let's see, they all work a bit on that same basis. And the one with the least evidence, which they were also considering, is pumpkin seeds or pumpkin oil. That's the one with the least evidence. Any inhibitor of the 2 we've mentioned could support an effect on that mechanism of action. That's what I wanted. There really isn't any dietary supplement on the market quite like this, since in the end, they all just copy each other.
Yeah, well, did you formulate it? Also, being a pharmacist, well, no.
Yes, and having studied, I've spent so many years studying the topic of hair loss, and I know myself, I know all the ones that are on the market. I wanted to use the right amount and avoid someone accidentally doubling their dose. On the other hand, magnesium can easily be...
These days, everyone is doubling or even tripling their magnesium intake. Because sleep supplements contain it, supplements for fatigue contain it. In the end, everything has magnesium. And you end up taking it from 3 or 4 different sources.
Yes, and vitamin D too.
And vitamin D as well.
All supplements, including hair ones, often have vitamin D, which I didn't want since you're already taking it. If you need it, yes, at a dose that you have to take. If I add it, we're not going to reach a dose that's meaningful for you, right?
This targets both women and men, I understand.
Yes, it's for everyone.
There's no difference in this case.
And actually, it would be a good alternative because, you know, there are people who don't want to take medication for alopecia. They just don't want to. So it's also about providing an alternative with everything they might need for treatment.
That is for the person who refuses finasteride or minoxidil and so on.
They have something to offer as an alternative. Yes, okay.
Great, fantastic. Well, the hair section turned out really cool. Now let's move on to the skin section, right? Yes. Do you consider retinol to be the most powerful and best anti-aging ingredient, or do you think there's something that rivals it?
In cosmetics, if we're talking about cosmetics, yes, the most powerful is retinoic acid, obviously, since it's an active molecule, but that's not a cosmetic, it's a medication. That's what retinol turns into. I mean, for retinol to be effective, it has to convert into retinoic acid, and that's the active molecule, right? So for cosmetics, do you mean retinol?
Okay, I imagine that with the boom in retinol at pharmacies, it's probably one of the best-selling products, right?
Yes, in and outside pharmacies, in cosmetics, for various reasons.
Are there any brands you prefer or dislike, excluding collaborations? We already know this isn't sponsored or anything, but just to give your followers some tools.
There are many. Let's see. What I can say is that retinol is a molecule that's a bit hard to stabilize. Don't buy retinol for 10, 15 or 20 euros. It's better to invest a bit more. You should spend a bit more, around 30 or 40 euros. In this case, yes. Look, for example, this is not a collaboration. But the other day, I went to the presentation of the entire Rock line, and I realized that Rock is the most well-known brand. Because of the retinol, which was launched many years ago, it was the first laboratory to stabilize the retinol molecule. And now they have relaunched it with a new formulation. And what if people are listening to us from anywhere in the world? Because I like a lot of brands in Spain. But so as not to take away the opportunity, I think ROC, which you can find anywhere, would be a very good alternative.
Very good. And then there are people who sell what's called bakuchiol as an alternative to retinol. What can you say about this? Yes.
It makes me laugh when they call something the vegan alternative to retinol. Is vegan retinol as strong or stronger than regular retinol? I have to ask, excuse me.
They sell it as vegan retinol? Yes.
Yes, it comes from a plant, which makes it vegan like retinol. It can also be synthetic. It doesn't have to be animal-derived. But for me, when they start with these claims of 10 times more potent than retinol or just as potent as retinol, I say, wait a minute. The first thing is that you would need to have at least the scientific evidence that retinol has. And then we can talk, but until then, we're not going to talk. Is it promising? Yes, but I trust retinol. What else can I say?
Yes, that's not what you're saying, that there's little scientific evidence.
It's just that to me, I feel I don't want to come off as pedantic or exaggerated, but all of this just seems a bit ridiculous to me. So it's just a marketing invention, really. Marketing has come to mess things up, to confuse, and it does science a real disservice. Marketing, you know?
Yes, no doubt. Another topic, sunscreens. I imagine you talk about it a lot on social media. Is it true that mineral sunscreens have more advantages compared to chemical ones? Now, there's a lot of chemophobia. There are a lot of people who are now avoiding chemical sunscreens, right?
Then what do they eat?
Of course.
You know, I avoid sunscreen, but what do I eat? Tell me what you eat. Let's put the cards on the table, and let's say what's important and what's not important or much less important. And I do respect all opinions, but let's be a bit logical in life and stop obsessing over what we're putting on ourselves. And let's look a little further. Like, what are you eating? How are you resting at night? Do you have stress? Yes, exercise. And then, because we already know the Mediterranean diet is made for moderate activity. And let me tell you, with all the obesity and overweight issues out there, activity levels are very low for most people. Does the Mediterranean diet recommend fewer calories than usual? That's why we're living in a bubble of deception, here just to sell one thing or another. So put into context, the first thing, I do believe in general in minimalist routines. Because we protect the environment. And, we are cautious in general. If we have to apply something in cosmetics and leave the rest, the first thing we need to apply is sunscreen. Because it's the one that has really proven effective in stopping accelerated aging. Not aging itself, but accelerated aging. Because we all age, but we're going to age faster. We are exposed to the sun, that's just how it is, science says so. And not only that, but the more sun exposure we have, the higher our risk of skin cancer. And that's what science says. Then someone, possibly a dermatologist colleague, will say, it's not a big deal since skin cancer doesn't spread. I'll just remove it if it shows up, and that's it. But if it appears elsewhere, will you remove it for me? And what will my face look like after?
Yes, exactly. A dermatologist would never say not to protect yourself, just to be generally more cautious.
But is there anyone out there who's kind of lost their mind a little? So does that count then?
Sunscreen is the first step in any routine.
And chemical, mineral, all are synthetic. They're molecules that are synthesized or maybe extracted from a natural source, but they're processed because you couldn't use the 2 mineral molecules used in sunscreens as they are. Minerals, which are titanium dioxide and zinc oxide, can't be used as they come out of the earth because they're very oxidizing. They have to be coated. Guess what with? Usually with silicones. So here they're deceiving people because they're saying, isn't sunscreen natural because it has titanium dioxide, zinc oxide? Sorry, it's just that they've coated it with silicones, which I think is fine. I love silicones, but what I mean is don't deceive people, of course, okay? So the only difference is that not even the mechanism of action, because it's already been proven that whether it's mineral, organic, or whatever, the mechanism of action is absorption, not reflection, as it has been marketed. That mineral sunscreens reflect like a mirror. It's a lie. They only reflect about 5% of the radiation, so the mechanism is very similar. Another trick, okay? And the only reason I would use a mineral sunscreen instead of a chemical one is that the mineral one stays on the surface of the skin and isn't absorbed. In theory, if the mineral particle is very small, like a nanoparticle, it could be absorbed, but that's with a standard particle. It doesn't react with the skin in any way, so it's good for people with ultrasensitive skin, children, pregnant women, but not because it's absorbed or not, it's because it doesn't react with the skin. And that skin is more sensitive, so we avoid possible allergic reactions or skin reactions. And that's it. And what about someone who has spots, who tends, for example, to melasma? If you give them a mineral sunscreen, the mineral is a suspension, they're little granules, so what do you think gets in between one granule and another? There is some direct absorption. It will stimulate the skin but won't control that spot. Exactly. So for those with melasma, they shouldn't use minerals, or if they prefer minerals for the color, use that sunscreen, but first apply a standard one.
So, from what I see, you prefer to use standard chemical ones? No, yes.
Yes, normally yes. Well, or maybe I use one that's kind of a hybrid. The most effective ones would be the hybrids. Okay, because on one hand, you're giving physical permanence on the skin, which, let's say, kind of creates a layer and, I don't know, it doesn't disappear as much.
No.
It doesn't go away so quickly. And on the other hand, you have organic protection. So actually, hybrids would be the best example.
Okay, is it true that sunscreens prevent the skin from breathing?
Or creams. Does the skin really breathe that much? The only thing we should be concerned about is using certain products that are very occlusive and comedogenic, like oils, for example, pure coconut oil. Because in a mixture, like a cosmetic product with coconut oil, it depends on what it's mixed with. Whether that's comedogenic or not, I mean, whether it promotes the appearance of comedones, but even if it can be a little comedogenic, if you clean your face well at night, you likely won't have any issues. If someone says, it gives me pimples, just cleanse your face well at night.
Of course. And really, do sunscreens significantly reduce vitamin D synthesis, as has been proven?
No, and I doubt it, because vitamin D is synthesized on the scalp, on the ears, and on the neck. Areas where you don't apply sunscreen. You probably should, but you don't. And people who also promote sunbathing to synthesize vitamin D, they create melanin. And what melanin does is actually prevent the creation or synthesis of vitamin D, so you could look really good from having tanned a lot, but still have low vitamin D.
That's also why people with darker skin synthesize less.
Exactly. It's the same reason, an adaptation. They need more protection because they have more skin.
They have protection, but less synthesis. They have more vitamin D deficiency, right?
Exactly. Do you mean lighter skin? Yes.
Why does sugar age the skin?
Because it's not sugar itself, but excess sugar, right? Sugar is just glucose, a carbohydrate we all need to live. I mean, yes, but our body has to process the excess. It needs to attach to something, so it doesn't just circulate. When there's too much, it can attach to collagen. It creates a caramelization, the Maillard reaction. What this does is make the collagen more rigid. And not only that, but also that compound. That bond makes the skin look more yellow. You notice that older people start to look more yellow. Regardless, we're not talking about the liver, here we're talking about skin. But that yellowing of the skin is due to the action of sugar on collagen.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's the tone, kind of more like, yes.
Skin that's stiffer and more yellow. Oh, okay.
Interesting. Is there any other dietary pattern besides sugar and the presence of sugar in the diet that really ages the skin that you can point out?
Alcohol, tobacco.
Well, tobacco is brutal for the skin.
It's brutal for the skin because it's direct action, it's in direct contact with the skin, it's very oxidizing. And then also the gestures you make when you smoke, those vertical wrinkles around the lips, when you see someone like that, it's because they're a smoker.
I always wonder if those of us who do a lot of strength training, if the gestures we make while exercising, I think they can increase dynamic wrinkles.
I think so, definitely. I really do. I bite my tongue. I try not to make gestures and I bite it, I swear. Okay? Yes, I have that habit with my lip. I bite my lip a little or to avoid making a certain gesture.
We'll have to come up with something. Yes, yes, yes.
But on the other hand, it increases synthesis. In the end, you put your body in an anabolic state and it synthesizes more collagen. Yes, yes, so, well, one thing for another.
Are there any notable clinical trials in Asia on strength training and skin collagen quality? Yes.
Yes, it actually compares regular aerobic training with strength training. Also, I have that study linked in my book, and yes, and I think it's in 15 days. I remember that studies show collagen synthesis increases after just 15 days. Definitely another reason to do strength exercises.
There are hundreds. Well, people go crazy with the skincare routines. Let's try, as you said, to be as minimalist as possible and provide a skincare routine with evidence for both men and women, but as simple as possible. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3 in the simplest way possible.
You're giving me a lot of steps, of course.
I've gone too far, haven't I? So how would we do it?
In the mornings, you cleanse your skin and apply sunscreen. There are many types of sunscreen, and the one that will work best is the one you like, okay? It's simple. Sun protection factor 50 or higher is better, as it prevents inconsistent application and protects if you're more exposed to the sun. Will it be more effective for us? In winter, sun protection factor 30 is fine. I'm using it now, okay? But starting from, well, here in Malaga, maybe in February, you already need to start using it. It depends on how much you're exposed, right? So, cleansing sunscreen, and also those sunscreens can even have antioxidants. They're super complete. It's a product with all the benefits. At night, you cleanse your skin again with the same product you used in the morning, and you apply retinol. That's it. You're done. Wow.
Your life is fixed. So it's really just 3 products? You mentioned the cleanser, which I imagine
could be a cleanser. Look, I really like to recommend some products called Will Levant, which are not cleansing oils. It's not an oil, it's a product with a glycerin base, which many dermatology brands have, I don't know. La Roche-Posay Uriage SVR. All the dermatological brands sold in pharmacies have that type. You can even buy it in a liter size. You can use it for your face and skin, and they're super gentle on the skin. If you need more cleansing, you can use it twice without drying your skin.
I'll ask you to send me the name on WhatsApp later.
Okay.
That I'm going to buy. Yes, yes. The cleanser, the protector, and the retinol are the only things you use now, personally?
Yes, I mainly use that. Occasionally, I do a glycolic acid peel about every 15 days. I leave it on for a little while, then at night I take it off and apply retinol. My skin is resistant. I mean, maybe someone listening should be careful too. You always have to be a little cautious. These are strong products and they can make your skin react in certain ways. But if you do it right, the person selling it to you should explain how it works. Well, I love it.
Because I think that, above all, we don't follow skincare routines because it's tedious to use 7 products, 8 steps. What do I put on now? What don't I? And I love that it's ABC.
Yes, it's the same for guys. I mean, my husband is just like me. Like, have you put on sunscreen? Have you applied retinol? Is that it?
Yes, yes. Great, great, good. Now let's talk about micronutrients. In this case, the skin, what is it? What do we need to have beautiful, aesthetic, and healthy skin?
The Mediterranean diet, that's what your skin needs. Basically because high-quality fats will be reflected in the sebum secretion you have on your skin, especially those coming from oily fish. Omega-3 in this case, eicosapentaenoic acid, which is the one that works the most on the skin. Antioxidants of all kinds that will give our skin a healthy appearance. And to have a diet, as we said, without excess, ultra-processed foods, which are oxidants, also without excess carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not forbidden. We need carbohydrates. This is also a message.
Women especially, please eat carbs.
Please, because then at night you can't sleep if you don't have carbohydrates. So you have to eat a little bit of everything. You don't have to overeat. But 3 meals, I'll tell you, 3 meals a day with all the micronutrients present and all the macronutrients. And that's it. And well, you can do more things, but it's not mandatory either. Can you take collagen? It's not mandatory, but there's more and more evidence supporting that taking collagen benefits the skin.
How does oral collagen get integrated and improve the structure of the skin by improving the dermis? That collagen.
Well, theoretically, it stimulates the fibroblast, which is the cell in the dermis that creates collagen. That's the theory. I'll also tell you that the exact mechanism of action isn't known. It would be very difficult. There are even medications that are still used, and we don't know exactly why. What's their mechanism of action? Since it's a dietary supplement, it's even less likely to be known. I'm not sure we'll ever know, but it's interesting to try. If you want to improve your skin, which isn't bad, it's magically going to improve hydration, texture, and the overall appearance of your skin. It will be noticeable. I also mentioned that the day you start, take a picture of yourself and then take another picture under the same conditions every 30 days, and that's the way to know how it's going for you. Collagen then should be hydrolyzed collagen in peptides, and it's the peptide that is directly absorbed in the intestine. It seems that even though these are amino acids that are not essential, they actually appear to be conditionally essential. So you also need to provide them externally so that the skin doesn't run out of material to create collagen.
Increase the synthesis work of the fibroblast.
Exactly.
So that the fibroblast has more to work with in order to produce.
In the end, keep in mind that the skin is not a priority organ, nor is hair, for the body. If those amino acids are needed, they will go first to the heart, the liver, and the brain.
And also, he has formulated a collagen product aimed at skin health and aesthetics, which is Skin HR No if you want as well. I just got mine today and will do it. Taking a photo on day 1 and day 30 sounds like a great idea, right? Another thing, consistency in taking it, because people take collagen on Saturday mornings. One Saturday yes, one Saturday no. And if you want to see improvement, you really need consistency.
Be consistent. I suggest using it for 3 months straight, then taking a month off and repeating this cycle if you don't want to take it continuously. This way, you maintain collagen's effect, which lasts a month after stopping. So it's 3 months on, 1 month off, repeating. You start to notice the effect after 4 to 8 weeks. That's why it's important to take pictures every 30 days. It's an important way to see it. I developed Converisol, a registered collagen with the most skin studies. So, to make sure you can take collagen, which for me is the highest quality and has the most studies supporting its effectiveness, 5 grams of Berisol have been included. Vitamin C is important because without vitamin C, our own collagen can't be synthesized. There are people who don't eat fruit or vegetables at this point in their lives, so you really need to add a lot of vitamin C. We've added it. Hyaluronic acid, all collagens come with hyaluronic acid. We've added it. We'll discuss that. And vitamin E and beta-carotenes, because in the end, the skin needs extra protection, an extra antioxidant boost, and these are the most well-known and well-studied antioxidants. It's not the new one that just released. The classics, I want the classics. Vitamin E, which supports the antioxidation of the lipid part, vitamin A with beta-carotenes to protect at the cellular level, and vitamin C, which provides the more hydrophilic part. And then something important, of course, you start taking these kinds of products, but you mess up because the one you bought is different. You end up paying 80 euros a month for some with the same amount of collagen as this one for 20 euros a month, and the price was important to me besides that. But you might be taking things that aren't really suitable. How many types of collagen are there? I don't know any that don't include a sweetener or concentrated juice.
I've noticed and appreciate it has no sweetener. Did you add glycine?
Not exactly, and it actually has 2 benefits in this regard. Glycine is an amino acid that also supports collagen synthesis, and it has a sweet taste. And you'll tell me, what have they told you to do?
To improve your sleep, right?
Yes, they've given you that too. Plus, the wild berry one, my favorite, tastes great and really seems like it has wild berries.
How does the flavor contribute?
With a natural aroma. Also,
Okay.
Okay, that's all. What I didn't want was a product that improves something, but by using some active ingredients.
It's great. It doesn't have sweeteners. I generally avoid them. not for a specific reason, but they don't agree with me. Most protein powders have sweeteners.
Of course, all the protein, all the collagen, everything that's in powder form, it has to taste sweet, at least a little, so it can mask the flavor a bit.
And also as a message to people that we should stop demanding that everything tastes sweet.
That's true, that's right.
Not everything needs to be extremely sweet or have bold flavors.
Of course, but in the end, that's the trend. Because if not, we make ourselves palatable, and if not, it seems like we won't keep being consumed. But realize, you know that glycine has a sweet taste, but it's not cloying, it's light. That's how we've achieved it, so it's not overwhelming, but it still tastes sweet. Because when you take those collagen ampules they sell you, you take that shot and it feels like you're drinking it and you make that face all concentrated.
We're in really bad shape.
Used to it.
To everything. And something very important that we haven't mentioned before. Your code, please. A little discount for anyone who wants it.
Of course. Well, I don't have a code because I don't work like that, but I'm sure you have your code.
I do have one and they know it. Here, my followers know it.
And I use the code of a person who helps me in my professional work. She has a code called Palabra de Pharma, which is very easy, Palabra de Pharma. So she has her discount code that you can use to get the collagen for 20 euros, which I think 20 euros, honestly, is a really good price, very well priced. I didn't want to develop a collagen product, I'm telling you, Borja. I said no, explaining that adding Berisol would make it much more expensive. I wanted Berisol because it had the evidence. And when we did the math with Fulgas, I said, let's go for it. Because if we can offer it at 20 euros, well, now no one will be left without collagen. If they want to take it, that's great.
That's it. A collagen made for skin. Collagen has other uses, but this one is for skin. Word from Pharma, a very good price code, without sweeteners, and really a daily dosage, 1 scoop a day.
It's 3-level scoops, because the container is big. It's 3-level scoops, and each container lasts a month.
Nothing. I
Usually
added to my post-workout shake and
also
very simple, and that way you won't forget. Yes, rating from 0 to 10 trends in cosmetics with Helena Rodero, rosemary oil for hair loss. A 0 for sulfate-free shampoos.
Well, let's see. I would give it a 4 because it has its usefulness as long as you alternate it with shampoos that contain sulfates.
Sunscreen stick for reapplying over makeup, a 5.
If it's a good sunscreen that doesn't ruin what you're wearing,
Dermaroller used at home.
a 0 seems dangerous to me, and I think it could have more problems than benefits.
Clay mask for oily skin.
A 0. I've never seen the use for that kind of product because they actually damage the skin. Plus, people use them incorrectly.
Vitamin C serums.
I don't really like it since it makes my skin oily, but I'd rate it a 6.
Micellar water for daily use.
If you rinse it off, I'd also give it a 6.
Washing without shampoo, that's a -10. Daily exfoliating tonics like alpha hydroxy acids, that's an 8 dry brushing.
There's no evidence. That's a -10.
Solid shampoos.
Well, they do clean your hair, but usually they clean either too well or not well enough. So I'm going to give them a 3.
Aloe vera gel for sunburns.
A -10.
Silicones in the hair, a 12 gua sha and facial massage.
A -100. If you're not careful, you can damage your skin permanently.
True or false? In cosmetics with Helena Rodero, most of the cosmetic ingredients we use are dangerous.
False. Is that the case here? All cosmetic ingredients must be reviewed and approved by the European Union. There is nothing dangerous, and everything is evaluated at levels far from being toxic.
Do the cosmetics we use contain endocrine disruptors that alter our hormonal environment?
Yes, they contain endocrine disruptors, but at doses that are insignificant and not supported by science. They are far from having any real impact on our bodies. And above all, as I mentioned before, what we need to do is follow minimalist routines to minimize that contact. But that's not the most important thing. Endocrine disruption through the skin. We need to evaluate what we eat, which is very important, how we sleep, and what we do in our lives.
Sugar ages your skin as much as the sun does.
False. What ages the skin the most by far is the sun. It ages and accelerates aging, especially skin that has been exposed to the sun for many years. You can tell right away that it's much more damaged than skin that has been protected from the sun.
More testosterone means less hair. False.
Because it's not testosterone that causes hair loss, but rather dihydrotestosterone, which is a metabolite of testosterone that an enzyme converts. You can have high testosterone, but without conversion, you won't have that activity or lose your hair.
Just wash your hair, Helena, after you exercise.
You have to wash your hair when you exercise and every day, if possible.
Frequent brushing makes my hair fall out.
Not as much as it can. If you brush it wrong, it can break because you're not brushing it properly. You have to brush from the bottom up. If you do it that way, your hair won't fall out or break.
If a cosmetic is natural, it's safe.
False natural doesn't mean it's safe. The most potent toxins are natural. Botulinum toxin comes from a very natural bacteria that lives in nature.
Expensive serums always work better than cheap ones.
False. That statement is so general that it's completely untrue. You would have to evaluate each ingredient individually. For example, with retinol, it's definitely worth investing a little more to make sure it's effective, but with other ingredients like hyaluronic acid, you can spend just €6.
Silicones suffocate the hair.
Hair doesn't suffocate, because for it to suffocate, it would have to be alive, and it's a biological material. Silicone is the conditioner that works best for hair because it spreads amazingly well without adding any weight.
Does sunscreen cause vitamin D deficiency?
This hasn't been proven because we often don't use sunscreen correctly, in the right amount, or on areas like the ears, neck, or scalp. Vitamin D is also synthesized in those areas.
Dandruff appears because you wash your hair too much.
Actually, it's the opposite. That's false. Dandruff usually appears when you go too long between washes.
Retinol makes your skin look younger from the very first week.
No, that's false. For retinol to take effect, you have to wait between 3 to 6 months, and when you're consistent, you get all the benefits of retinol. Better texture, fine lines are less visible, your skin is firmer, prettier, and more radiant.
The more ingredients a cosmetic has, the better it works.
False, neither better nor worse. Sometimes a cosmetic with many ingredients is good, other times one with few is good.
And lastly, we don't need a very complex 7-step routine to have beautiful skin at all.
3 products would be enough: sunscreen, cleanser, and retinol.
That's good, Helena. We've covered skin, we've covered hair. I think you've busted a lot of myths. You clearly work on this daily and have researched it for a long time. You really master it. Are you also passionate? It shows.
Well, that's important. I think that everyone who dedicates themselves to sharing knowledge has to be passionate about what they do, right? Because in the end, you're sharing information that has to come from the heart.
I haven't asked, how did you begin your science communication journey?
Back in 2018, I still had my pharmacy, and it was a student I had here doing her supervised internship. I want to say hi to Paloma, who encouraged me and said, "Helena, you need Instagram." So she convinced me. I started using it, and the way I began was because I was extremely embarrassed to record myself on video. Really embarrassed. What I would do was, let's see, Helena. Just imagine you're telling it to your neighbor who comes over to ask you, and that's it. So I would start recording myself telling it, just like I would at the counter, making videos like that. And then I also realized that there are a lot of people who need advice, a lot. Back in 2018, just imagine, because even with very few followers, I was getting a lot of questions and selling a lot at that time. So little by little, it started to grow. It got a bit out of hand, and I had to make a website right before the pandemic. By then, I had already decided to sell the pharmacy for other reasons we'll discuss another time. And while I sold the pharmacy, I kept my Instagram account and started to reinvent myself. And that's how...
Now you focus on sharing information.
And now it's about spreading information. And well, you know, I've formulated with Fulgas, and I've also co-created a hair cosmetic line. And well, little by little, I don't know, I'm involved in a lot of things, right?
Sometimes it's good to relax for a while, because it's true that you get into a routine where you say, "Who? But well, happy, I see you happy." Besides, I always say that pharmacists are often the first line of consultation for the public when it comes to health, even before the family doctor. People often visit the pharmacy first, ask for advice, and only see a doctor afterward.
Also, when someone visits the doctor may not have much time to explain or answer questions, so we try to help. And it's true that the role of the pharmacy is very important. I wish that many pharmacies would give more comprehensive advice, but sometimes there are pharmacies that just don't have the time, right? We are an important channel because we're open to the public for many hours without requiring appointments.
And now with this, look, you're open to more than 1 million people who have you in their pocket. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for your time, for coming all the way to Malaga to record for a while. I hope this episode helps a lot of people.
I hope so, I really do.
I'm sure it will. Keep up that energy and the great work spreading knowledge. I think it helps a lot. And that's it. Word of Pharma. Thanks for joining Better Than Yesterday. See you next time. Big hug, and let's keep empowering.